Hey class, I wanted to take some time to go over week 2 learning resources and assignments. You will have 2 chapters to read in your textbook this week. They're pretty short chapters. They're just related to attachment theory and neurobiology, really looking at early development of the brain and how that impacts emotion regulation. You'll look at the history of attachment theory, including Bowlby and Ainsworth, and get a good understanding of where that theory comes from and how it might affect people in their early development as well as ongoing throughout their life. Really, really useful information when we're looking at working with individuals and families. There, may be some impact related to trauma or just different ways of interacting with children that might affect development over time and might promote secure versus insecure attachments that might affect them and how they manage their emotions, how they interact with the world, and how they build relationships. I think that this is a really important theory to have a good understanding of, whether you plan to focus on using attachment theory within your work or not. It is something that attachment really lays the groundwork for all future relationships, and it's crucial to understand this as a clinician. You are required to read all of the articles listed here for this week. There's a really interesting article that you may want to reference for your attachment style paper this week. That's the Bennett and Sachs article. It's really interesting. It kind of relates attachment theory to the social work student field instructor or supervisory relationship, and how that can be secure versus insecure, just like any other attachment. Then we have the Shore article, just how affect regulation is developed over time through attachment theory, and how our early development and interactions with the adults in our lives can impact that over time. I really enjoy reading or watching anything with Dan Siegel. That's the writer of the third article that you'll be reading this week. He looks at neurobiology and how that impacts people. So it's anything from attachment relationships to how that it might impact emotion regulation or problem-solving skills, etc. You will have a video this week to watch with Dan Siegel as well. I'm going to add in addition, if anybody plans to work with children, or even if you don't plan to work with children, the book The Whole Brain Child is a really, really interesting take on parenting and parenting styles with the knowledge of neurobiology and how that can impact your parenting style, as well as really give some practical skills that I find that I am often talking about with parents in sessions. I'll talk about this book even with the adult clients that I see, because many of them are parents as well. It's a really practical guide. I often recommend it to families as well. So then you have these 2 videos. Like I said, there is one with Dan Siegel, just, a further dive into attachment. The first video is specifically how trauma impacts the brain. Attachment and trauma are both things that can change the neurobiology. We always have the neuroplasticity, and that can change over time, whether it be in a way that, there's more negative connections made in the brain or more positive. So, and somebody can have, there can be issues related to attachment that are maladaptive, even if they haven't been through trauma. So those are some important things to keep in mind. The videos aren't too long, so hopefully you find them useful. Here you have your discussion for the week. There is only one discussion this week for week 2. You are going to be viewing the common case scenario. This is the case of Anita that you have likely seen in other courses as well. So please read the overview of Anita's story, and then for this post you're going to be specifically looking at implications related to neurobiology and attachment. You can reference some of the articles and really use attachment-based or neurobiology framework when you are assessing the issues in Anita's case, and make sure that you are referencing the material that you use. So there's a variety of ways, and I'm sure you've seen in previous courses, there's a variety of ways that you can assess any one case, and there are a variety of things that come into play for Anita, but for this particular post, you're looking specifically at neurobiology and attachment. And then you will be required to follow up with at least one classmate, just again, like reference something that you found useful from their post and something that might add to their learning. I do want to spend some time talking about your attachment style paper for week 2. When you click the link to take the attachment style quiz, this is what's going to pop up. There is a short version and a longer version. I do recommend the longer version. It just might give you a bit more insight. It's going to give you a little bit more to work with when you write your paper. But you can certainly choose whichever one that you'd like to. You'll still have the information that you'll need for the paper. So here you'll see the instructions. The link that I just showed you is the attachment style test right here. So for this assignment, you're going to write 2 to 4 page double-spaced APA format paper, and you are going to be discussing and identifying the attachment style that was identified through that quiz. And I just want you to take a look at it and talk about what your thoughts are on this. If you feel like it's correct and if you feel like it's incorrect. We all know that there are limitations to these types of tests. So you might take the test and feel like you very strongly disagree with it. I'm looking for you to discuss that and give a reason why. If you do agree with it, talk about why you agree with it and why you think you got that response. This is just going to give you a bit more insight into yourself and how your attachment style could impact the work that you do. And, for the second part of it, discuss what has influenced your attachment style. So this could be, I'm not asking for you to get really deep into things that you don't really feel like talking about. You certainly can if you would like to, but you might reference issues related to your upbringing, whether that be positive or negative, interactions with parents and family members. You might reference certain adverse childhood experiences if that's relevant, and or positive experiences that you've had in your childhood. Those are some things that you might mention for that second part of the paper. And then for the third part, you're going to look at how that might affect your work with clients and how, what that would look like if you would be working with somebody with a different attachment style. We know that we're not necessarily going to relate to all of our clients, and that's a good thing. Sometimes that can be even more complicated when you really align with one of your clients, because it can create some boundary issues. But all that being said, just kind of reference what that might look like, what challenges you might see related to working with somebody with a different attachment style. And then for the last part, you're going to talk about what you might do to address any challenges that might come up within your work with clients who do have different attachment styles. Please be sure to look at the rubric for the assignment. I can pull it up for you and we can go through it. So here you'll see the rubric. It's essentially just the 4 components that I had just described. The second 2 are really the more important ones, where you're kind of discussing your attachment style and how that might impact the work with clients. If you do have any questions, let me know. This paper is due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. I can certainly assist you with any questions along the way. I will typically respond within 24 to 48 hours, usually more on the 24-hour side. So just send me a message in Canvas if you have any questions about this paper or the other discussion for the week or any of the content that we're going through. All right, well, I hope you guys have a good week, and I will post another video for week 3.